Hello and welcome to a new session on the topic ArchiMate for Architecture Modeling with alignment with the TOGAF Architecture Development Method ADM. In today's session, we discuss one of the many important topics related to the ArchiMate architecture modeling, and it is the alignment between the domains or the core domains. And personally, I find this one of the most valuable use cases and benefits, advantages of applying the ArchiMate architecture modeling in your architecture working packages and architecture daily work. Because the whole point, the whole reason why architects spend a lot of time in stakeholder management and alignment between the requirements of different parties is to find alignment. And this is possible. One of the tools that you can use is the ArchiMate. And I will show you in this session how this alignment is tangible and possible using the different domains of the ArchiMate specifications. If you are wondering where we are now in the PDF related to the ArchiMate library from the Open Group, we are now in chapter 10 related to relationships between the core domains. And this is the chapter associated with the topic alignment between application and business, between business and infrastructure, between application and infrastructure, and so on and so forth. I will start with creating a new ArchiMate view. I will start with the motivation. So our motivations, our goals, and our outcomes. So I'll set an arbitrary goal, so increase customer, increase sales. I'll set another goal, could be an outcome, as we have learned in the video dedicated to the motivation layer. An outcome is a concrete goal, but this is on the side. What we are trying to manifest or demonstrate today is the relationships between the domains. So I will add a call, increase productivity. Very generic. And then I'll go through the layers and align. So from the strategy layer, we know that this requires capabilities or resources or course of action. Stick with the course of action. Increase sales through new marketing channels. Augment new marketing channels in your CRM. You can have resources associated with capabilities, value streams. We have discussed that in the video related to the strategy domain. To increase the productivity, we will add a smart ERP system. We add plugins, we customize the ERP systems, we add the flows to the ERP systems, etc. So we can see now we have a motivation layer and a strategy layer. In the previous sessions, as you can see on the screen, for example, we have already demonstrated and touched on the topic of alignment, because we have here a strategy layer related to motivation. In another example, where we have here the business architecture, we have business architecture related to motivation. In implementation layer, also migration and implementation layer, we have the work packages in the implementation and migration and how they realize the requirements in the motivation layer, and so on and so forth. So this is not a new topic, but it is quite important that we should dedicate a session to it, as there is also a chapter dedicated to the alignment between the core domains. So the relationship between the course of action and the goal is realization relationship. And this will always be the case, almost always be the case, that any domain in the later steps of the EDM or in the lower layers of the ArchiMate, they will be related to the previous domain through realization. But also there is a possible that there will be service relationships, composition relationships, aggregations. This is all possible, depends on the use case that you are modeling. So we move now to the next layer where we have the business architecture. We could add an actor and say this is our customer. We could add another actor, sales department or employee. Very arbitrary. And then we add business services. It could be functions, it could be processes. And here the business service the employee will use from the ERP is warehouse management or master data management or a product master data management. So there could be quite many use cases. For the sake of example, I will just have one business service here. You have seen in the business architecture that this can get very wild, very complex, very quickly. So I'm sticking again in this section, focusing on the topic of alignment between the core domains of the ArchiMate. And another one here, augmenting new marketing channels is custom plugin. Let's use a business term. So for the customer channel, add a CRM channel. So this is the business service. And then the relationships again will be from the employee to the warehouse is served by. You have seen we have always tried to use trigger so that the direction is also easy to interpret. If we stick to the standard, it is a serve relationship. So the customer is served by the CRM and the employee is served by the warehouse business service. And how they are related to the strategy, realize. They realize the strategy, they make it possible, they implement the strategy. And then to make this also connected, there is a relationship between our goals is influence. So plus plus, it means if we increase productivity, we increase our sales as well. Then we come to the next layer, the application domain. This will be realized through business modules. So the warehouse module, so customer. It could be SAP module, it could be Udo module, it could be another ERP system, custom ERP warehouse shelves, warehouse module. So this is an application layer object, a component, and this realizes our business process. And the same for CRM client. Let's say, be more specific, let's say social media SDK client integration. You get the point. And of course, the application layer will be composed of interfaces and different events and triggers, etc. But again, how this is realized from the application to the business layer. So this is a realization of this warehouse business architecture. Possible relations is serve, trigger, flow, association. So here realization makes more sense. And likewise for the social media client. That's not everything. So we move now to the technology layer, system architecture. You can see this will be on Linux, Ubuntu, VM, and the other one will be on perhaps a CRM is hosted somewhere else on Windows machine, Windows 10, for any reasons, just for the sake of example here. And then we could also add a network between them, or a path, very generic, that the ERP can communicate and pull data from the social media client. So we could also comment that in the VPN, and this connects them together. So you can see now how you can have a visual alignment, visual representation of your entire organization, enterprise architecture. That's why it's called enterprise architecture. The architecture of your entire organization, or system of organizations, or ecosystem of organizations. Because it's not only the business aspect, it's not only the application or the data, it's the combination of all these interchangeable layers and domains and complexity. This is actually the main responsibility of the architects. Stakeholder alignment, stakeholder requirement management, the having the abstraction of the bigger picture, and the connections and relationships between all of these layers and departments. So that's why this is one of the most valuable features and possibilities that you can achieve using ArchiMate and the TOGAF standards. We have said that the data flows here and the other way around. Flows from the CRM system to the VPN, over the VPN to the Linux Ubuntu, and the relationship here. So you could say this is a realization. You could say association, because association is a weak universal connector. I would stick with service, because the ERP will be hosted on this Linux Ubuntu machine, and likely the same here for the social media client. And of course there will be a component to make things interesting, an interface here, the data sync interface, and a data sync interface will be assigned, didn't work. So this is a composition with this component. If it's a service, will be assigned to, and then uses, so served by. So you can see through a data sync interface, there will be data downloading from the social media client to the ERP system for analytics and reports in whatever way this is desired. Again, this is a very hypothetical use case, hypothetical example. The whole point is the alignment between core domains of the architecture. So far, we can even go further to the physical layer, assign this to equipment, assign this to factories. This is the Delaware data center, and the other one in Seattle data center. Assignment makes sense to me. And of course, not only makes sense to me, but also allowed by the standard. So this Linux machine is assigned to the data center in Seattle, and the other one, Windows, is assigned to Delaware Center. Make the physical layer again more interesting. There is a distribution network between the two centers that makes the VPN connectivity possible. And again, flows to the Seattle data center. So you can see here, using this visual representation, the motivation layer, the strategy layer, the business layer, the application layer, the technology and physical layer. We can even, for the sake of completeness, go further to the implementation and migration planning. So we could assign here work package to every component along the list. So I'll say WP ERP team 001, and this would be realizing this data component, or this business layer, or this strategy object, whatever makes sense in the context. So this is realized with this work package. We have discussed the implementation and migration layer in the dedicated session, where we have seen all the elements possible with the gaps, the plateaus, the deliverables, the relationship between the migration and motivation layers. So we are quite very well covered in this aspect. The whole point here is to stick to the point of alignment. So you can see, from starting from motivation and strategy to the business application and technology architectures, you even aligned with the implementation and the migration. You can add more deliverables and plateaus and gaps, whatever the requirements for this architecture work package is. But here you have in one place this one holistic view, 360 perspective of your feature and its propagation and impact through the entire organization and the different domains of the architecture. I hope this made it quite insightful to you why ArchiMate is relevant to architects in stakeholder alignment and in different domains and alignments between different organizations, third parties, partners, and also between the different stages and steps of the ADM method in TOGAF. You can you can easily apply the same concept in any other different tool or specifications that you are using mandatory by your organization. I'm only showing here how this is possible using ArchiMate, which I find personally very structured and very insightful. I hope that I helped you with this video series, and see you in future videos. Thank you very much.